sorry about that. The first of the final 3 rounds, RCR round 22, brings us to the Losail International Circuit, a circuit that has proven tasking and treacherous for those that drive it. Expect overtakes, penalties and upsets, as this track rarely has a dull moment. 3.343 miles long with 16 total twists and turns that have drivers following close through corners at near flat-out speeds. The long DRS straight will come into play today, as drivers will struggle to outpace their competitors over a full lap, meaning it will be critical to clear a second to the driver behind early on. We have started a little bit behind schedule, I have to say, but we're here now and we are on board with Santry, who has crossed the start-finish line early on here. Just making sure that we've got audio coming through, because I can't quite hear it. Make sure that we got that. 2 seconds. Do have audio, but very quiet. Either way, get into the gameplay. Santry. Appreciate that, Diana. As always. Santry then, through the first sector he goes. And obviously fastest in the first sector of anybody so far. That's because he's the only one to have done it so far. This track, absolutely intense all the way through. Long sweeping corners will keep the drivers absolutely, well, it will keep them busy, that's for sure. Through the entire second sector, already had a couple of drivers complaining to me about how much he's been hurting their arms to have force feedback wheels and hold the turn throughout the entire corner, have it fight you. You know, first world problems as Santry comes through the final sector now, doing well to keep his lap valid, and we're going to see a lot of invalidations in this session, I'm sure, just because of the fact that there are no barriers. Santry then comes up to the long start finish straight, crosses the line and puts in a 1:22.7, which is a very respectable time so far. David Kovalaki also out on track at the moment. He's in the second sector. He's just completing it. Let's see where this ends up. David would actually be down in 21st in the Drivers' Championship if all the drivers that have driven for RCR were still here. Cross the line though and puts in a 1:21.984, massively quicker than Santry, who is going to look at his time and think, oh dear, what on earth have I done? Chris Takis jumping up the order in terms of points. The moment 11th in the standings, doesn't really has enough races to catch Cottony Goblin in 9th. Not really fighting for anything, just for victories, as he seeks his first victory in RCR so far. Yet to do it, but he was on the podium last week after some excursions with other drivers, let's just say that. Very much a passenger in a couple of incidents last week when we visited Vegas. And Ace has retired from the session and rejoined it. Unfortunately for him, he's not going to be able to qualify. Chris Takis, a 1:22.1. So that's a massive time from David Kovalaki. We rarely see closer to the sharp end. Last week he qualified in 11th place and finished 8th, just to give you context to the kind of pace that he shows. But he's definitely improved massively. Let's see what his friend and teammate Lex does as he comes through the first sector. But his time, the fastest of anybody so far in the first sector, immediately gets pipped. The driver behind crosses past with him as well. I believe that's I'm Mr. DJ CJ on track. Could be someone else though. Or I'm the Pog. Say it is I'm the Pog. Yeah, it is I'm the Pog behind Lex. So both of them very close to setting times. Lex fastest in the second sector as well. Pog doesn't match him there. Lex last week qualified first. Qualified on provisional pole. Well, on pole position, sorry. And then all went a bit awry. They finished 4th place. Lex will be certainly hoping that whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas as he crosses the line, puts in a 121.4 and puts it on provisional pole, as it looks like I'm the Pog has invalidated his lap time. So as I said before, we're going to see plenty of invalidations. As I say, with many tracks that have these large runoff areas, they lull you into a false sense of security. You see no barrier there, and you think, oh, that's maybe part of the track. And it's, most of the time, it's not. Runoff, invalidate your lap time, and Schlesinger Volvo puts in a 121.6, just 0.2 away from Lex at the moment, who's still on provisional pole. Off and Dolbach, we've seen quite a good showing from him as of recent. And Mr. DJ CJ at the moment, running in that runoff area. No setup, I don't think. He's not been in the practice session. Comes immediately into the pits, boxes off those soft tyres. Off and Dolbach fastest in the first sector according to the timing sheets. Let's see what he's got though. Been very close, hasn't he, to scoring his first ever win. He scored his first ever pole just a couple of races ago, but did not score his first ever win. Very close last week. Just a 10th between him and Binary last week, as they both crossed the line in, well, just margins apart. But unfortunately, Uffen Dolbach was the driver that finished second that day. Binary overtaking him on the short start-finish straight on the very last lap across the line. It was a great race. As Uffen Dolbach puts it in with a 121.940. That is just showing to me how good David Kovalaki's time is as well. Representative to his usual pace. It's a good time from him. I'm going to be seeing whether or not he can keep it up. The track will ramp up. We are 9 minutes into this session. 9 minutes remaining. Just coming up to the halfway mark. And as the drivers go round, track will ramp up. Tantry at the moment with a 122.779 and on an out lap, as is David Kovalaki, who is the first of the two. Time as DJ CJ leaves the session. I wonder if that could be maybe could be a disconnect. Sticking with though David as he runs through first sector, turns 1, 2, 3, all done now. Sweeping double right-hander coming up. It's very easy to go off there. Two tight 90-degree corners. You get used to the sweeping 30-degree corners, and then when you get to turn 3 and 4, 4 and 5. Oh, as David loses the back end there. That's going to cost him a couple of tenths of time. Going to abandon this run, surely. Let's see where he is, though, in comparison to his last sector time. Coming up to the sector line now. He's a 10th down on his time, so I can't imagine that he will improve very much at all. And let's go on board with the championship leader. Last week, extending his championship lead to 19 points over Mr. DJ CJ. CJ was in the mix to win the race, and unfortunately, an unfortunate series of events in the first corner resulted in him crashing into BXTN, taking them both not out of the race entirely, but out of contention for the win on the very last lap, which not only resulted in CJ and BX finishing 5th and 6th in that order, but also then CJ picking up a time penalty, a 5-second time penalty, which pushed him further down into 6th place. Binary then, let's see what he's got. He's been practicing a lot for this. Across the line, it's only a 122.0. And And that could certainly be very interesting. For the race, if Binary stays low down. But both of them, CJ, if we go back to this, the CJ and Binary conversation, both of them qualifying low. 2 races in a row. CJ qualified 6th. Binary qualified 7th last week. And again, Binary down the order, but proves they can... Oh, as off the track goes FR Element. So we'll join BXTN, who is yet to set a time. In fact, I'm about to say we'll join Pog, but Pog has invalidated his time. So we'll stick with BXTN. Who at the moment, as I said before, no time, was in the mix as well, as I was saying, to win the race last week in Vegas, but unfortunately was just a passenger in the incident between him and CJ. No driver really having done anything wrong per se, as BXTN gets the fastest second sector of anybody so far, and he's coming up to the last line. Nobody did anything wrong per se, but definitely the driver to blame, CJ, in that situation. That's why he picked up the penalty. BXTN crossed the line. It's a 121.7, puts himself closer to the sharp end. Currently 3rd in the championship. No hope of catching I'm Mr. DJ CJ though. It'd require CJ not to finish a single race and BXTN to win all of them with the fastest lap. Not even that, actually. We've only got 3 races left. BXTN certainly out of the hunt for 2nd. 97 points behind. We're on board now. CJ invalidates his lap time. Just crossing over turn 9. That's not going to help his qualifying session. No practice whatsoever, though. Got to be disheartening. But sure, he'll deal with the hand he's been dealt. The X10 coming on an in lap at the moment. Santry on an out lap. We've already joined Santry for the first ever lap in this qualifying session. At the moment, though, the only driver out on track as BXTN comes into the pit lane and resigns his car to the garage for one last changing of tyres, I assume, and then back out on track again. Out of the pits comes... I think that could be I Am the Pog. Could be wrong, though. We'll see. It is I'm the Pog. I'm the Pog out of the pit lane. Early on. And this will really be his last attempt at a lap time, as is with Santry as well. He won't have enough time to complete another lap after this, because he'll do his actual lap, do his in lap. By the time that's done, we'll be down to 0. All of the drivers at the moment sitting in the pit lane. It's a 1 minute 20, let's say a 1 minute 23 lap at a push. If you're doing a slow lap, a 1 minute 27, 1 minute 28. So we'll see them coming out of the pit lane closer to the 2 minute mark, as we've got a couple jumping the gun early. There are some drivers that like to have the space between them, not like to leave it till the very last minute. I'm Mr. DJ CJ, one of them at the moment. He's out on track for another run. He'll need a clear track ahead of him. Absolute focus. And let's see what Santry's sector times are looking like. Quite off the pace, really. Moment improved by 2/10 though. He's going to have to have a mighty second and third sector though. By his current trajectory, he's on a 22.5. Any more improvements? He'll move up the order maybe. Gain lots of time in this second sector though. All these turns or especially where drivers make up their time, and you can see it right there. 3 further tenths from Sanctuary, and the fastest in the second sector. That's got to feel good as he puts in a purple second sector time, fastest of anybody so far, rounding out the penultimate corner before the final corner. Turn 14, the sweeping right-hander hooks it up. You've got to tease the power a little bit, punch it out of the corner, crosses the line, and it's a 121.9, soaring him up to 4th place on the grid. And Mr. DJ CJ has just started his lap, and we'll stick with Mr. DJ CJ because he's yet to set a time, and this is all important for him. And the Pog as well on a lap at the moment. He's got pace. This man in the hunt for the championship still. You can see there, not liking the balance of the car whatsoever. The back end kicking out there. Huge lockup as well. Just no grip whatsoever on these tyres, it would seem, for Mr. DJ CJ. And the Pog did cross the line, did put in a time. He puts in a 121.558. That puts him up into second place on the front row with Lex, who's done a 120.951. An incredible pole time from Lex, and one that may not be beat. 6 tenths between him and the next driver. An incredible effort. That is Lex coming up to the line. Can he further improve on his time? He's on a 119, a 120, a 121.038. Good enough for pole still. I'm Mr. DJ CJ coming up to the line. He crossed it, does a 122.3. Really struggling on those tyres, 3/10 slower than his rival and teammate. Binary down in the first sector still. We're going to go through the drivers. Let's see if we can catch anyone coming up to the line. That's Chris Takis, who crossed the line and puts his car on the second row. Dolbach currently down in 7th. Let's see what he can do. A 121.6 pushes Chris Takis down. David Kovalaki coming into the pits. I'm the Pog also boxing. BXTN, this is his final run. He's only 300ths of a second up on his time though, but that could be enough to put him up ahead of Chris Takis. It is enough to put him up ahead of Chris Takis, Dolbach, and Slazenger of Volvo. BXTN moving up into the second row, onto the second row. But it is this man who's done everything. Two times good enough for pole, and he's done it. He's put in a 120.951, the first of the two, being the better one, only missing out by a few margins on his second time, but he's going to be very happy with that. Very happy with pole. You can see there, weaving left to right. Thrilled at the prospect. Lane before him. And maybe another chance to win an RCR Grand Prix. So far, 5 wins this season for Lex. 8 podiums, 3 poles. And that is now a 4th. So it's been quite the interesting qualifying session, and one that we unfortunately started quite late. We'll go through the order one more time though. On the front row, Lex gets his 4th pole of the season, joined by I'm the Pog alongside him. BXTN and Slazenger Volvo on the second row. Dolbach and Chris Takis on the third. Binary and Santry 7th and 8th. David Kovalaki and I'm Mr. DJ CJ 9th and 10th. FR Element, Cotton the Goblin, they share the 6th row, and Ace 17782 with no time, just like Cotton the Goblin, will start in 13th place on the grid. So then I'm sure you're all curious as to how the standings are laid out at the moment. And they are not laid out like that. I feel like every time I switch to the standings lately, it's not the actual standings. I don't know what's going on. I do load them. They're last week's standings. So, actually a good representation. Last week, 2 points between the two of them. This week, we have 19 points between the two of them. I'm Mr. DJ CJ. 19 points off Binary after finishing down in 6th place. Binary certainly now on a run to win Season 4 of RCR. But can Mr. DJ CJ usurp him for first place in the Drivers' Championship and do it himself? The two of them have won the Constructors' Championship together, but they are now fierce rivals all the way to the end of this season. Just 3 rounds left to go, including this one. Two of them, well, it's been very intense, that's for sure. Anything can happen, though. Anything will happen. Binary with 8 wins so far this season. CJ with only 2. An incredible consistency from CJ, though. The worst ever finish for Binary, 13th. Worst ever finish for CJ was last week in 6th. Oh, sorry, Binary's worst ever finish was 9th, not 13th. His worst ever qualifying was 13th. CJ's worst ever qualifying being 9th. But yeah, so CJ only ever finishing outside of the top 5 once, and that was last week. So incredible consistency from him. But unfortunately, now has lost the lead of the championship. Is now 19 points behind. BXTN very much out of shot there. He's out of any chance of taking second place. He's very much resigned to fighting for third between him, Lex, and potentially Huff and Dobak as well. Can score enough points to challenge BXTN for third place in the championship. Although a long shot for Huff and Dobak, as he's, 60 points off? 55 points away. Track map and calendar. You can see there the 14 turns of this circuit and just the 1 DRS zone. The DRS zone running on the start-finish straight, the main straight of the Lusail circuit, just running over 1 kilometer long. And it will definitely, as I said in the intro, will play a key part here in this race. Drivers will definitely want to get out of the DRS as soon as possible, because it's very likely that we'll have trains form between them. Also, again, with the calendar as well. Oh no, it's all going wrong. I don't know how I've got the track right, but as we get in the formation lap starting, I don't know how I get the track right, but the calendar, even though they're on the same page, is wrong. I've not done anything wrong. I keep switching between the views. And I guess when I switch between the views, it reverts to the one that was last streamed, I guess. But that's a guess. Very much a guess. So yeah, as you can see, we are currently in Qatar, in Lusail, the Lusail International Circuit. And then we're on to the Yas Marina Circuit, which is Abu Dhabi, and then finally finishing in Brazil. 3 more rounds to go. Plenty of opportunity for these drivers, or for the 2 drivers in the contention for the championship to shine, and this race likely to be a one-stop strategy. At the moment, we'll see who's on what tyre. Cotton the Goblin opting for the hard tyre, so Slazenger Evolver and I'm the Pog. Slazenger, we've seen him try these alternate strategies many a time. BXTN, Lex, Huff and Dolbach, Chris Takis, Binary, Santry, David Kovalaki, I'm Mr. DJ CJ, FR Element and Ace all opting for the medium tyre. And yeah, 10 out of 13, can't be wrong. All of them deciding that this is the optimal start tyre at the moment. Someone flying off into the distance. Who is that? That's obviously I'm Mr. DJ CJ, who wants to get this race over and done with as soon as possible. Already lining up into his grid slot. Interesting strategy from I'm Mr. DJ CJ. Down in 10th place. Just a few places back from Binary. Waiting for the rest of the field to bunch up and take their grid slots. And you'll see a few drivers attempt to line up perfectly in the grid slot. Some of them get it wrong, and then it'll say that they've been disqualified from the session, but that just means that they've not lined up correctly, and they'll be sent to a place that's not as advantageous. So they'll get pushed back behind the yellow line, as we do get one of them. That's Slazenger Volvo, who got pushed back slightly after not lining up properly. Look at that. Who's that? That's Santry, I believe. Pointing towards Binary. So Binary's got to be aware of that, because Santry on the inside line. So then, all drivers lining up. FR Element taking his sweet, sweet time. Lines up into his grid slot. All the drivers now have been waiting for an astronomical amount of time, especially our Mr. DJ CJ, whose tyres will be suffering. He'll be on cold, medium tyres, and will have to be wary of FR Element, who's maximised his outlap, his formation lap, the last one, to line up in his grid slot. Here we go then. We wait to register. Green flag waving, but no lights as of yet. Assume we're waiting for a connection. I very much hope that we are still in this session. Not normally taking this long. I think it's quite abnormal that FR Element lined up like that. And knowing this game being as temperamental as it is, I would potentially blame FR Element's lining up, being the 11th driver on the grid, lining up last. Blame that on the fact that we are still sat here waiting to start the session. Could be wrong though. Very weird. I'm going to see if I can find a stream of one of the drivers. While we wait for this to get underway. Find a stream of one of the drivers. Oh, as BX10 has retired from the session. Yeah, so the drivers take a screenshot of that. Capture screenshot. And I've been invited to the party as well. Okay. There we go.
Yeah, I can't, I'm stuck in the game.
Just so we're aware. Just so we're aware, I'm still streaming, so.
The lobby's crashed.
Yeah,
so,
I think it was FR Element lining up last, even though he was 11th.
He's not lined up last. He lined up 11th.
No, he lined up in 11th, but last, he was the last one to line up, even though he wasn't the last driver.
I had to dashboard to get out.
Right.
Oh.
Element leaving has caused the thing to...
Yes, we've got 5-car grid. CJ's getting a podium. Let's go. Right, we're not backing out anymore, boys. Right. Oh, what a start by DJ CJ. He puts his goal, taking his flies past David Kawalaki, pulls over to that side.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Which means I can see how awful this setup is in race trim.
Let me know when you've set up the second lobby.
I'm just in the process now. Just trying to get to it.
Right, I need a setup.
You're one jammy bastard, honest to God.
What do you mean?
Why does this shit never happen to me?
Your man loads in with a shit setup, and he's like, oh, I hope the fucking lobby has to restart, and then mysteriously the lobby needs a restart. I'm calling hacks.
I hope he
Owner
disconnects now.
Owner privilege.
Right.
Creating session lobby.
Even you're not going to speak to us, the commentary team? No.
I like how you went to try and take me out there, DJ, and it didn't take me out.
Did nothing. like you have a fucking a flaming titanium car.
Yeah. There we go. He's inviting me.
Right.
You on the grid?
You can wait a second.
Or do you know the grid?
I have
Yeah,
it.
he
Sorry,
does.
I have it.
Give a shit about season 4 of Fanzone. Oh my god!
See, he's right up now. He thinks he's got a chance.
I'm now a Mercedes Max Verstappen fan. Just hurry up. Rough choices.
I think there should be a rule that you have to go start the session with the same setup
Fine,
you
do
were
what
on.
you want, mate.
Right. Catch us later.
Advance! Just go.
Now I have to recreate the party. Very sorry about this. We're some technical difficulties, it would seem. I suppose while we're waiting, I can go over the very limited Formula One trivia of the Losail circuit, which, to be honest with you, isn't even Formula One trivia. We've got a couple of Formula One trivia, then we've got a bit of MotoGP trivia, which, to be honest, I don't know how it's relevant, but you know, either way, over 500 kilometers of wiring helps keep the Losail circuit illuminated at night. 500 kilometers, that's an amazing amount of cabling. And yeah, it's a quite interesting fact that I found. Don't know how I found it, don't know why I found it, but there it is. Here's a Formula One orientated one for you, or oriented one for you. Max Verstappen's title win in 2023 saw Qatar become the 22nd different country in which the Drivers' Championship had been decided. FIFA World Cup took place in November to December 2022 to avoid the summer heat. It was the first time that the World Cup took place in a month other than May, June, or July. So, you know, money trumps all, and Qatar moving the usual dates of the World Cup to December time. But it would have been impossible to expect the players to play in the heat. They were actually still struggling even in November, so I can't imagine what it would have been like in summertime. First ever race at the circuit was held in 2021. So we'll literally just stop. We'll go over actual RCR stats. You can see all the drivers in this session. We'll go over some RCR facts and trivia, and maybe not so much facts and trivia, but just some stats. So last time we visited Qatar was season. That's not right. Wow. We're in season 5. We're in season 5, aren't we? I'm losing the plot here. I'm actually losing the plot. Yeah, so season 5. The last time we visited, Qatar, Websy won. Websy's not here this week. Sassenger Volvo, the man in the session there near the top, finished in second, and Senor Ghost, who no longer races for RCR, finished in third. The same driver who finished in third the season before, in season 3, finished in first. Senor Ghost took the win. The first ever race RCR did at Qatar. Jack Imac finished second, and Santry, who is in this session, finished third. Christakis has been with us for a few races now. Last week qualified 5th, finished 3rd. Best ever finishing position is 3rd. That was last week. His best ever qualifying position is 3rd as well. Got an average finishing in qualifying position of 6th place. We just wait for the grid to be reformed. Quite funny, isn't it? I said that I thought that it was a FR Element lining up last into his 11th grid slot, even though the driver in 13th had already lined up. And apparently the moment that FR Element left was the moment that the session started. So this game is exactly how you would expect it to be. It's all levels of bogged. On pole, Lex yet again. Last week he started on pole. Last week he didn't finish on pole, and that means that we are currently on a run of 4 races in a row where the pole sitter has not finished in first place, not crossed the line in first place. Actually, I need to update that stat corner. It's Binary's 3rd win in a row. If you hear me typing away, that's because I am updating the stats. Okay then. I'm assuming that the drivers will pick their setups and then immediately pick the setups, get the strategies, and then get immediately on the way. Fortunately for CJ, he'll be able to pick a setup. Because I don't think he was actually able to the first time around. Because he joined halfway through a session, and I know sometimes it doesn't allow you to do that. See, shall we? Typing away. I can't believe we're already on round 22 of 24. Insane. It has definitely flown by. 15 drivers last week. Go back with the fastest lap of the race. And like I said, he only finished 0.116 seconds behind Binary, so close to a win. He's so close. He's yet to do it. He's been threatening it, but it doesn't look like this track is the one that he's going to do it on. But as we saw last week, sorry, anything can happen still. Binary started down in 7th and went on to win the race, so back on the formation lap again. It'll be definitely different this time. Don't see how Mr. DJ CJ running away into the lead of the formation lap. Everyone's obviously picked the same tyres that they were on. But what people's telemetry on? We don't want lap data on. We do want the track map. We want that. So let's not forget, I'm the Pog, starting on the hard tyre, Slazenger at Volvo on the hard as well, and Cottony Goblin on the hard. Everyone else has picked the medium tyre and will certainly get off the line better than I'm the Pog, better than the rest of them. For a while, the LaSalle circuit was the largest lit sporting venue in the world. Its title was taken, though, from the Yas Marina, or by the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi when it opened in 2009. Coming through the second sector now. Let's get into the mind of Lex, shall we? He's had plenty of poles for RCR. Some of them not even logged from this season, but he went on a massive win streak, won 5 races so far this season. He's had 3 poles. I'm sure he's had more than that, but I don't think they got logged down. Either way, though. Oh, he's off the track. Who's that? That's I'm the Pog. Taking a little trip into the gravel. As you see there, the strategy for this race, no doubt a one-stop for most drivers, unless a safety car or two Throws all that right. Flipping through the driver. Goes BXTN. We're all lining up into the grid slots now, and we should be getting underway shortly. Lex, Pog, BXTN, Slaz. Your top 4. Here we go then. The lights are coming on. 5 lights are out, and the race is on the way, and BXTN gets off the line incredibly poorly as alongside him goes Slazenger Volvo Binary, also moving up a place past Chris Takis. The two of them coming close together, but it looks like Chris Takis is managing to hold it on the inside now that becomes the outside, and certainly has managed to keep 6th place. Binary down in 7th at the moment. I'm Mr. DJ CJ has moved up a place into 9th he goes, and all of them so close together. Look at it, how bunched up they are already, and you'll see them, as I said at the beginning, flat out all the way through this session and following each other ever so closely as Chris Takis gets past Slazenger of Volvo as well, who's moving down the order. He's now down into 6th place and got Binary hot on his heels. Huff and Dolbach 4/10 behind I'm the Pog, and as I said early on, you want to get a second between you and the driver behind as soon as possible, and that's exactly what Lex has done already. 1.1 seconds away from Lex, away from I'm the Pog, who's just moved down into 3rd place. Huff and Dolbach 1.6 seconds away from Lex. After that overtake for 2nd place. David Kovalaki moving down to 9. CJ already up into 8, and now following Binary closely. Looks like he's just clipped the back of him though. So close between these two in the championship fight. 19 points between the two of them. CJ has an astronomical task ahead of him, and he's now chasing down his championship rival and teammate, closing in ever so early on. And let's see, they've not got DRS as of yet. We'll get that on the next lap as Binary moves up past Slazenger Volvo, putting some space and a car's length between him and I'm Mr. DJ CJ. I'm the Pog down into 4th as Chris Takis moving up into 3rd, and Lex pulling away from the field. Off into the distance he goes. 1.8 seconds already between him and 2nd place. Chris Takis now looking to overtake Huff and Dolbach. He's got to close in though, as a big lockup from I'm the Pog allows BXTN to close in slightly. And we certainly love our night races. The lights bouncing off the paintwork of the cars. And here in the desert, in the heat, drivers certainly fixated to the road ahead. 1 lapse in concentration, you may have runoff area, but you will get a warning and then a penalty, and a subsequent penalty for good measure as BXTN goes off the track wide of it, and I'm sure he's just picked up a warning for that. Won't want too many of them. It's only 2 laps into this race. As we look down the field, Binary closing in on BXTN, who's seemingly struggling and is already boxed. Has he got wing damage maybe? Puts the car in full brakes. Gets to the line. He's very, very cautious there. And his team coming out. Looks like a new front wing for BXTN. He's had contact then. So, decides that he'll lose more time trying to hold on to his wing than just to get it changed. About an extra 7 seconds in the pit stops. BXTN back underway with a tyre change, and now onto the hard tyre. Let's have a look to see how many places everyone's moved up and down. BXTN obviously down 10 places after that pit stop. Slazenger Volvo moving down 3 places. I'm Mr. DJ CJ up 4. So is Binary up 2 as well. Drivers moving up the order, drivers moving down the order. The biggest loser of all, BXTN at the moment. I'm the Pog moving down 2 places. And this man in the lead at the moment, 2 seconds ahead of Huff and Dolbach. And unfortunately for him, even though he's having a stellar drive at the moment, if it continues this way, we will not be seeing much of him on this broadcast. CJ has closed in to Binary. 2 of them so close together. Look at this. Just like last week, this could be all or nothing for CJ. He needs to make this work. Needs, as David Kovalaki, the first to fall folly to the track limits, gets a 3-second time penalty for his troubles. CJ So close to Binary. But the two of them still very much maintaining position. And the Pog at the moment struggling for pace. And as you can see, Binary Mate just put himself ahead of the Pog, and then Pog between him and CJ, as he did with Slaz. Cassini Goblin spun around, I think. Cassini Goblin in the wall, and we've got a caution in Sector 1. Cassini Goblin back in the way. I'm just watching this. He's lost his front wing. Lost control of the car. He's managed to get it back on the road. So it's not a retirement. Not a safety car either. These two are going to have to stay on board with these for the majority of the race. These 19 points between them, so critical. If Binary... Obviously, there's going to be, what, 52 points. 52 points available, max, after this next race. Binary cannot increase his lead to 52 points. CJ and Pog. CJ, Binary gets past Pog. CJ gets past Pog as well. So Binary hoping, very much hoping for Pog to be the stopgap between him and CJ. That's not worked out to his plan. And Binary is now 2.4 seconds behind Huff and Dolbach. So no longer has the DRS. Will that come into play as CJ does a tiny lock up there? And this is going to display which one can handle the pressure. CJ has most of it on his shoulders at the moment, with the gap between him and Binary becoming 19 points with just 3 races to go. Binary knows he's got to keep it clean, got to keep it on track, and got to finish as high as possible without overdoing it, really. All he needs to do is just pick up points. Make sure that CJ does not close in that 19-point lead. And while he keeps CJ behind, that's exactly what he's doing. DRS now open. CJ follows behind. 4 tenths between the two of them, 3 tenths. Closing. He's not going to get him this lap. But he's certainly keeping within touching distance. Christakis on the back of Huff and Dolbach. Huff and Dolbach now 2.9 seconds away from Lex. He's up into second place yet again. He was briefly up in first. He did everything he could. Last race, started fourth, finished second. But at the moment, Huff under pressure from Christakis, who is all over the back of him and looking for second place. And maybe if Chris does get past Huff and Dolbach, maybe Chris can then go down the road and catch after Lex, who's already got 3.3 seconds. The moment that becomes 4 seconds, he's going to be very happy, because he can't really get undercut at that point. For the new and uninitiated, getting undercut, essentially you box before, or if you are doing the undercut, you box before your rival, utilise the fresh tyres pace to close up the gap, and then by the time that your rival has pitted, or your opponent has pitted, as Christakis does get past Huff and Dolbach, by the time they've pitted, they've lost so much time that they actually end up behind you on track and then have to make up the place with the fresher tyres, if they can do that at all. I'm the Pog and David Kavalaki at the moment, back and forth. Is that a bit of damage maybe for David? I thought I saw an end plate missing. I do see an end plate missing, so maybe a bit of wheel-to-wheel bumping there that resulted in it's carbon fibre flying off the car. Binary remains in fourth place ahead of Mr. DJ CJ after the next lap. And the two of them, as Binary's trying to, I'm sure Binary's just trying to close in on Huff and Dolbach. Once he's done that, if he can do that, then he's yet again Got a driver able to keep that DRS on him. And while he does this, he's able also, he's got to make sure that he doesn't burn his tyres and that CJ burns his own tyres more by being stuck behind the turbulent, disrupting the car, disrupting how it turns in, causing more wear on the tyre. Lap 8 of 29 becomes. And we are now about a third of the way through this race. As Mr. DJ CJ does overtake Binary into the first corner then. I'm not sure if that was a day late, but it definitely wasn't a dollar short. And if Binary did try to defend, he definitely closed the barn door after the horse had bolted. And CJ now has to pull away. 4 tenths between the two of them. CJ was able to keep 4 tenths, 4 to 5 tenths behind Binary. If Binary can do the same, then we'll know that these two will yin-yang back and forth. Yo-yo, even. Binary now 6 tenths to CJ, losing ground. This is where drivers start to panic. This is where drivers they'll start to see those tenths. So when you are maybe the slower driver on track or through the corners, start to panic. And this is where Binary will be trying to utilize a bit of battery to catch up to CJ before the DRS detection zone. Stays with him, stays 7 tenths back, 6 tenths back even. Offendoe switching places with Chris, which proves Binary also switching places with CJ. CJ later on the brakes, managing to hold it round the outside, but I think Binary on the outside of turn 3, on the outside of turn 2, sorry, now still behind. But this is essentially net zero for CJ. He's got it all to do again. Got to make sure that he pulls out more as I'm the Pog on the back of Binary at the moment, and Binary's got to make sure that he doesn't lose out to I'm the Pog, who's closing in and causing problems for Binary, who's having to look in his mirrors and look ahead at the same time, which is near impossible. Binary's got no choice. Maybe the best course of defense is attack. Got set after CJ. He's definitely closer this time than he was last lap. And it looks like with the DRS, Binary maybe has an advantage in straight line speed. Just 4 tenths between the two of them. I'm sure it was 6 tenths when we got to this point. Although, as I say that, it gets awfully close to 6 tenths. Back down to 4 though. Through the corner, Pog locks up. And that's allowed Binary to pull away slightly. Binary closer than he was before. As Chris Takis re-overtakes Offendoe back. The two of them utilising DRS here. CJ managing to hold on. And this time not having to defend that inside line of 1. Which could potentially give him more pace. Give him more time to eke out that gap slightly. He needs it, I'd say, over 7 tenths by the first corner to start to pull away. Pog still on the back of Binary. Binary still very much in touch with CJ at the moment. Neither of them will want penalties. We've got 3 drivers with time penalties so far. Much tighter line from Binary. 3 tenths to CJ. CJ had a massive lock-up there. Binary's just 2 tenths behind now. We're on lap 10 of 29 and it's looking absolutely intense at the moment. The two of them so close together as they come down to turn 14. The final turn of this circuit. Look how close Pog is as well. This is going to be very reminiscent of Vegas last week. with these 4 drivers, the DRS as well, allowing them all to come. Look at CJ, a sitting duck on this straight. Pog as well, maybe even able to make his way past. CJ tries to be later on the brakes. CJ is later on the brakes. Those hard tyres not working for Pog at the moment, but maybe Pog on lap 11 of 29 starting to come back into this. CJ defending well against Pog, keeping him behind and keeping the car from coming between him and his rival as Pog clips the back of CJ slightly. They are tail to nose at the moment, the two of them. Big lockup from CJ again. Binary's got to be happy with this. CJ having a hard time of it, really. Binary, when he was ahead, didn't have this issue where the cars started to close in together at the same time and double overtakes were happening on the straight, and this is allowing Binary to pull away slightly. CJ will get the DRS though. As BXTM picks up a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, becomes the 5th driver of this race to do so. Into the pits comes Chris Takis. Looking down the field. Pog again attempting the overtake on CJ. CJ's going to have to be late on the brakes again. He is late on the brakes again, but this time it looks like Pog. Yeah, Pog very much ahead on the inside of turn 1. Gets the racing line in turn 2, and now Pog is up into 4th place. And setting after Binary, who at the moment in 3rd, podium position, and has Pog just behind him. Maybe Binary considering to box early. So that was essentially locking his place, won't it? And then he can go to the end on the hard tyre. Keep him and Pog between him and CJ, as long as Pog's race goes well. And Mr. CJ though really needs to make sure that he gets past Pog. But Pog looking more aggressive than he were before. Now that these tyres have started to come into play, these hard tyres, definitely the tyre to be on at the moment. Definitely not worn mediums. And could potentially get Binary on this start-finish straight coming up as they navigate the final corner. We've seen Chris Takis come into the pits. Somebody's coming into the pits. That's our Mr. CJ attempting the undercut. Massive lock-up on the brakes. Doesn't need those tyres now, though. Got several drivers boxing into the pit lane. Hard tyres on. Offendorback, David Kovalaki, Lex, all opting to box now. We've seen last week, boxing slightly early sometimes can pay off. Other times can result in you being stuck out on your fresh tyres with the safety car. And the Pog does get past Binary as we watched all those drivers box. Pog now takes the lead. Starts to pull a gap to Binary. As I said before, once you get to about 7/10, I think that means that you're safe because you've got enough time to then... I don't think the DRS can aid enough for the next lap, for the subsequent lap. Get you in touch. We've got yellow flag in Sector 1. Who's that? Yellow flag in Sector 1. That would belong to David Kovalaki, who has a little bit of a moment. Yeah. Now 8, 9 tenths between Binary and Pog. Binary was certainly considering coming into the pits now that he's... No, it's Pog loses the back end and he decides... He doesn't decide to box. Almost, very nearly, collecting Binary. Heart in mouth moment there as he nearly got collected by the other driver who made the mistake. Binary onto the hard tyre. Let's see where he comes out. Where's Mr. CJ as well? He's had a clear track ahead of him. Well, this could be critical, couldn't it? There's CJ going down the start-finish straight. There's Binary coming out of the pits. And Binary remains ahead of CJ then. CJ still within DRS. Binary on those cold, hard tyres. And maybe, just maybe, CJ can get past here. The two of them so close together. We're on board at the moment with Binary, who's got I'm Mr. DJ CJ behind him still. CJ started in 10th, Binary started in 6th. CJ, a little mistake there. Out of turn 13. Still keeps within touching distance though of Binary, who now have those hard tyres up to temperature. Let's see the closing speed though of his teammate, who opts to go for the outside line. And that was like taking candy from a baby. CJ then up into 6th place. They've got a clear track ahead of them. So again, it looks like the gap will have to be opened up. If CJ wants any chance of finishing ahead of Binary. At the moment though, CJ only scoring 2 points over Binary. So on average, CJ would have to score what? 19 points left in this so that's about 6.5 points, let's say 6.3 points per race, which is a big ask. Not entirely impossible, though. Morgan Slaz still out on track at the moment. Slaz has done incredibly well to come back into this race. He's now in the lead. Don't forget, though, Lex 12 seconds behind. Has boxed. Lex gets the fastest lap of the race so far, a 1:24.206. Which is going to be very good for him, as he's got optimal pace on track at the moment. As Binary now closes in on I'm Mr. DJ. CJ returns the favour from the last lap, takes 6th place away from him. And now Binary net 2 points plus in his championship lead. It's 21 points between the two of them. A little mistake from Binary, maybe. He's allowed CJ to close in. It's going to be very tough, isn't it, to keep that distance, keep that pace, keep that gap to the car ahead. You've also got to judge your rivals' braking zones. Don't want to get too close, otherwise you could be, or CJ could be eating a rear wing sandwich. Look at this, though. The two of them so very close together. They're coming through the final sector now. And CJ has kept this gap down to just 3.6 tenths has lost. At the moment that I say, he does actually lose a couple of tenths out of turn 13. I think still close enough, though, to change hands, this lead. Got a yellow flag in sector 2. That's the driver leaving the track. I think it's Santry. He's returned to it, though, and managed to get himself back underway. Fastest lap for CJ, a 1:25.125. Fastest lap for Binary, a 1:25.197. Two of them. At the moment, almost matching each other equally for time. And you can see exactly why it's these two that are fighting for the RCR Season 5 Championship. You can see exactly why it's gone down to the absolute wire. There is no possible way that this championship will end before the final round. There will still be a chance for CJ to win. As it stands, anyway. Lex taking second as I'm the Pog comes into the pits final. Let's see where he'll come out. In 5th place at the moment. He's actually going to come out behind Binary and I Mr. DJ CJ. So that mistake on the hard tyre, he may have done well on the hard. He's now on the medium, so he's got a slight advantage in terms of initial pace. So we'll close back up. But it has to be said that and the Pog gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. BX10 is box as well. Currently down in 9th place. And we've usually seen a safety car or two by now. So everyone very much safe in terms of strategy. I think everyone's boxed now. Let's have a look actually. Let's confirm that. Pit stops. Yeah, everyone has boxed. Everyone apart from Slazenger Volvo, who is kind of goal hanging at the moment. So maybe Slaz can look out from a safety car. Maybe the last one that's actually able to. Tense between CJ and Binary. And how is it that these two are always together on track, whether it be 1st and 2nd, 5th and 6th? Binary retakes 5th away from CJ. How is it that these two are always together? It must be frustrating. Because I'm sure that all they want to do is just finish ahead, just not have to see each other on track so frequently. It's great for us. It's not so good for Pog, who clips the back end of Mr. DJ CJ, willing him on, pushing him through turn 3 now, turn 4, 5, sorry. In fact, that's turn 6. I'm absolutely lost. Either way. CJ now battling with the Pog. You've got to say, maybe just allow Pog past, because Pog on those medium tyres is not your fight right now. Maybe the hards will come back into play, but at the moment, Pog boxing early, I'd say, for a medium. No, not really, actually, thinking about it. As speaking of boxing, in goes Slazenger Volvo as a very in-synchronized swimming fashion. Ace just comes out of his box as Slaz goes into his. The two of them almost collecting each other, but thankfully they don't. This man, 7.2 seconds in the lead at the moment. Make that 7.3. No answers behind. CJ still behind Binary at the moment. And for somebody who's not had any practice whatsoever, I'm not sure if he's had no practice whatsoever actually thinking about it, but he didn't have a setup, so either he couldn't put one on or he didn't actually have one. And if he didn't have one, then you'd assume he's had no practice. Either way, to stay with this championship rival like this, it's quite impressive. Binary, no doubt, will be wondering why you put in all that practice if it's true. It's the natural pace of CJ, though, able to just pick up the track and go. The gap's now starting to form. But Slazenger Volvo has joined this battle and is on those fresh medium tyres, and you can see the pace difference between the two of them. CJ already being gained on by Slazenger Volvo, and the two of them, both Binary and CJ, will have to worry about an on-charging Slaz behind, who's about to take 6th place away from CJ. CJ potentially may not want to fight this due to the fact that the binary will suffer the same fate as well, you'd believe. With a tiny lockup from CJ. Hard to believe that we are now on lap 21 of 29 of the 22nd round of this season. It has been a very long one, but it's not once had a bit of certainty. You had no idea how it was going to turn out. The gaps between the drivers have always been so close. CJ almost allowing Slaz to pass there. The two of them with DRS. Binary no DRS whatsoever as he's outside of the DRS of Pog at the moment. That's good news for CJ. Slaz gets past Binary. Now can set after Pog. Offendorbach's got to worry about his podium as closes in Slazenger Volvo. Him and Pog both have time penalties. Takis doing everything he can as well in 2nd place to try and close up to Lex, but Lex just is in another category at the moment. Cotton the Goblin has left the session. It's connected. And you know what we'll do? We will try to get Cotton and Goblin back in. So apologies for the brief lapse in... oh, that's the wrong thing. Brief lapse in action. Just got to make sure that we don't want to. It's not that we don't want to. It's just that got to invite him. There we go. Maybe he can rejoin the race. At the moment, though, he's 21 seconds off the driver ahead, and he's actually boxing now as well through no will of his own. The AI has boxed for him. CJ takes 6th place away from Binary. About 23 or 29. It's looking very familiar, this. I mean, it's a bit further down the field than they were in Vegas. But this is exactly how it went last time. Switching places over, even in Mexico as well. Switching places over and over. All the way to the end. And the DRS games are about to begin. We're about to get close to lap 25. Around lap 25, 26, we'll start to see drivers slowing down, being like, no, you go first. As you can see, the green dot on the track map in the bottom right of your screen, just before the final turn, that's exactly where the DRS detection zone is. So whichever driver is within a second of the driver ahead is the one that gets DRS at that point. DJ dropping 5/10 on Binary. Does Binary have an answer though? He does. Back within a 10th. .7 seconds between him and Slazenger Volvo. And Pog has been overtaken for 4th place. Slaz now up into 4th on track. And he can set off after Huff and Dobak. DJ now, prime position, I'd say. Always a little bit of a wobble there with the car. Not able to capitalise when he needs to, but Binary with the big lockup, 4/10 behind now. And it's a crazy amount of effort from these two. Just for 2 points in the championship. Every point will count at the very end. And the margin's ever so fine. Slaz and Pog still together. Binary just 2/10 behind CJ. It looks like it's closer than ever this time. Slaz on the back of Huff and Dolbach. He closed in so quickly. And that's got to be a good feeling for Slaz. Botany Goblin picks up a 3-second penalty for multiple warnings. Well, as we close in on the end of this race, we will review all the penalties just before we cross the line. In fact, we'll do that now as Huff and Dolbach gets another 3-second time penalty, which will allow Pog to finish ahead of him, if I'm not mistaken. Well, 3 seconds selects 9 seconds for David Kovalaki. Got to wonder, maybe a better qualifying for CJ. And this would have ended a bit differently, but at the moment, very much looking like 2 points either way is exactly how this championship will change. Off of smoke there. That's Slaz and Huff and Dolbach. Huff and Dolbach defending valiantly, but he knows that he doesn't have... That's not his battle. And in fact, Pog also utilises Huff and Dolbach moving over to one side and sets off past Huff and Dolbach into 4th place. Now Pog Huff down into 5th, losing 2 places in just one corner. Closing in on the final stages of this race. Binary has moved up back past MSDJ CJ, the two of them. So CJ with another twitch of the car, struggling on these tyres now. The XTN early on. Oh, it's Binary, big mistake from Binary. But luckily for him, in a place where it's not going to matter too much because he's still 3/10 behind. Which means he will get DRS on this final corner again. Two of them, it looks like they're both struggling on these medium tyres. On the hard tyres, sorry. Not mediums, are they? Switched onto the hards. And now they're both struggling. We're on lap 27, sorry, of 29. And that looks very pedestrian. And moves up into 6th place, just ahead of CJ again. Slazenger of Volvo has closed up to Chris Takis. 2.8 seconds now. Is he able to make much more of an impression in the final stages of this race? CJ, another wobble of the car. These tyres are going, it would seem. Over half a second. And as I said before, I feel at the 7/10 mark is where a driver should be worried whether or not he's going to lose DRS. CJ closes in though and immediately shuts up that accusation. And it's entirely on them now. We're on lap 28 of 29. It's the final 2. And maybe this is the final. Not the final opportunity to overtake. And CJ remains behind Binary. That's crucial. And I wonder if anyone's got any grand ideas as well. saw before that Binary, with that mistake in Sector 2, stayed behind CJ and was able to pick up the DRS. At the moment, though, it's CJ with DRS on the final lap, it would seem, as it stands. Here we go then, through the second sector. We've not even looked at Lex in a long while. In fact, we've only really focused on this battle. And to be honest with you, I'm very sorry that it has been just this battle for the majority of the race, but it's so crucial. The championship in the balance. Both of them not giving an inch, not making a mistake. 3 tenths between Binary and CJ. Binary rounds out the final corner onto the start finish straight to go. It's 4 tenths between the two of them. CJ utilising all his battery, all his DRS available to him. Binary, maybe no answer for it. CJ moving to the outside. Binary covers the inside line. Later on the break, CJ has been in the past. Binary covers that perfectly well. Covers off the first and second corners. CJ has to back off, and it looks like Binary's done it. Just a tenth between the two of them. And you've got to think, it's now or never. Maybe someone's going to get desperate here. I say someone, maybe CJ's going to get desperate here. And he locks up a little bit. The back end of the car kicking out. The two of them wheel to wheel throughout the entire race. And this may as well have been for the win. That's how crucial it has been. But speaking of for the win, here goes Lex then. He's done such a masterclass this race. Crosses the line. He wins the Qatar Grand Prix RCR. Round 22. Chris Takis at the moment coming up to finish in second. Slazenger Volvo has closed in astronomically to him, but unfortunately for him, not enough. These two still wheel to wheel. Binary rounds out the final corner, and it looks like it's going to be in the order of Binary, then CJ. Binary picking up 2 more points off I'm Mr. DJ. CJ moving down the order, and the POG will go through the field, though. Obviously, we couldn't catch every driver going across the line because of the fact that we had to watch that battle all the way to the end then. So, Lex wins the Grand Prix and picks up 25 points for his trouble effect. Let's just double check that because we're going to see who's got the fastest lap as well. So, fastest lap goes to BXTN. BXTN, obviously, early on, watch the film with that wing damage, had to box early. Either way, Lex wins. Then Chris Takis picks up another podium. That's the second in a row after a bad run of luck. Wait for the session to close out. Driver of the day also goes to Chris Takis. I'll second that, to be honest. Very well to move up through the field and then finish in second place. Lex with that masterclass, though, as well. Also a shout for driver of the day. Can't always give it to the person that wins, though, but Lex definitely had a measure of the field. Showed that he definitely could. He definitely could pull out that 1 second gap early on. Many other drivers could not do that throughout the field. As Pog says, that was a struggle, never driven here before. Yeah, exactly. It's a very rare track to come up. It was one of the final ones on the games calendar, and if you're in many leagues, then you will obviously not get to experience it because of the fact that it's one of the final tracks in the calendar. Either way, then Lex wins the race. Then Chris Takis finishes second, and Slazenger rounds out the podium. All three of them a great race and a well-earned podium between the three. Then these two, Binary, then followed by CJ. Both of them starting lower down, 7th and 10th. Both of them moving their way up through the field. Maybe if CJ qualified higher, maybe he could have finished higher up, but unfortunately for him, did not. Huff and Dolbach, Pog, BXTM, David Kovalaki, Santry, FR Element, Cotton the Goblin, and Ace. That's your 13 finishing drivers. BXTN winning picking up the fastest lap and a further point, just scoring 3 points, though, in his campaign for third in the Drivers' Championship. So then, that is everything really. That's just you know, that's the whole race. I do apologize that we started off a bit later than usual, although the race did run to its normal running time. We did finish around 11 o'clock as usual. Either way, I'd like to thank you all for watching. A very big thank you to anybody that followed, anybody that liked, or anybody that subscribed. I really appreciate it. It helps me a lot and keeps these streams going. So I'd like to thank you one more time. And I'll see you again next time for round 23 when we visit... Bear with me a second as I move my mouse over to the other side of the room. We visit Yas Marina. We're in Abu Dhabi next. Circuit under the lights again. Another night race, but one in which is nowhere near as broad as that one. It's a much longer track with a lot more intricate corners. Either way, though, great race. And see you again next time. Bye-bye for now.